I wanted to, in this way, to signal with the feminist, I wanted to signal that we commit to the gender justice. This means that we are not going to talk about the books, like it is a kind of a reading group, but the main aim is to engage in these discussions with the civil society organizations, activists, and like to collectively discuss about the power dynamics, about equality and equity issues, and about justice issues in AI technology area. A reminder before we start, I would like to share some housekeeping rules. Like I hope you can participate like in a respectful way. We should respect each other. We need to give the floor first to the author and the reviewers. I will try to keep the time. I would like to remind you to be mindful about the language we use because we aim to create a safe space for everyone. I am going to dedicate 15 minutes at the end for questions and answers, like for the Q&A session. So I would please invite you to hold your questions and at the end of the presentations and the discussion. But of course, if you have something urgent, please raise your hand. I hope your phone is on silent mode. And with this, I would like to kick off the first session today for the Feminist Book Club. I am truly delighted to kick this off with a quote by Audre Lorde. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. Taking care of our reproductive health is not only essential for individuals' well-being, it is also a collective political act, particularly in the context of early detection and prevention of cancer. The statistics on women's reproductive cancers highlight how urgent and necessary this conversation is. According to the World Cancer Research Fund, as of 2022, I'm going to share the statistics of 2022, approximately 320,000 women were diagnosed with ovarian cancer around the world, and about 200,000 women died from the disease. These figures highlight the significant global burden of ovarian cancer on women's health. According to projections by the World Ovarian Cancer Coalition, the situation is expected to worsen if current trends continue. But by 2050, new ovarian cancer cases are expected to rise by more than 55%, reaching an estimated 500,000 diagnoses annually. Meanwhile, the number of deaths is expected to increase by nearly 70%, with around 350,000 women dying from the disease. Survival rates for the ovarian cancer remain comparatively low. The global 5-year survival rate ranges between 30% and 50%, which is significantly lower than that of other common cancers, such as breast cancer. One of the main challenges contributed to these poor outcomes is that the ovarian cancer is often diagnosed at a late stage, primarily due to its vague and non-specific symptoms, which makes early detection more difficult. According to the global statistics, over 85% of new cases and 90% of deaths from cervical cancer occur in low and middle-income countries. The highest incidence and mortality rates are observed in sub-Saharan Africa, Central America, and Southeast Asia. These disparities are largely due to the limited access to HPV vaccination, cervical screenings, and treatment services. These statistics underscore the urgent need for greater awareness, improved by early detection methods, and equitable access to treatment for women worldwide. Addressing these challenges is crucial for reducing the burden of ovarian cancer and improving survivor outcomes. With that in mind and with this long introduction, I hope it is clear to you why we decided to host this panel today. And this is the reason why we have invited one of the authors of the featured book titled Artificial Intelligence for Early Detection and Diagnosis of Cervical Cancer, Professor Shehzad Shah. I guess that we continue the discussion without her. So very briefly, again, before starting the discussion, I need to explain to the audience a brief introduction of the book. This book explores how artificial intelligence can support early and accurate diagnosis of cervical cancer. It provides a comprehensive overview of the disease, its risk factors, and the critical importance of early detection. The authors also introduce key AI concepts and their healthcare applications, demonstrating how algorithms can detect abnormal or precancerous cellular changes. The book further presents various AI techniques used in screening, including pap smear and liquid-based cytology image analysis. I wish that we had the opportunity to hear more about this from the author, but I hope we can have some input also. This work is particularly relevant for healthcare professionals, researchers, and policymakers interested in the intersection of AI and women's health. To deepen our discussion, I have invited one esteemed researcher, Professor Clarissa Sanchez-Gutierrez. Thank you, who is Professor of AI and Health at the Faculty of Science at the University of Amsterdam and Scientific Director of ICAIL Labs, the National Innovation Center for Artificial Intelligence. You can have like, I think I can ask you first some questions and then we can have like a discussion with the audience. How does this sound to you? Yeah, perfect. The main aim was like to have a 20 minutes introduction presentation from the author, and then I was supposed to ask some questions to the author in order to understand better some parts of the book. And then like the main aim was to hear from the reviewers their feedback. Just to let you know that another reviewer was supposed to join us today, but unfortunately she couldn't make it for personal reasons. So our apologies for any confusion or misunderstanding through the LinkedIn and social media posts. So just to kick off this discussion, and thank you so much for taking the time and traveling to Brussels. I hope you really enjoyed, and my sincere apologies for these technical issues that we face. I wanted to ask you, first of all, you can share like a bit of your background and your work. And given that, I wanted to hear your opinion based on the book and more particularly on chapter 2. Chapter 2 of the book focuses on how AI is deployed in a healthcare context for cancer detection and prevention. I wanted to hear from you what are like, not the legal, if you are aware of any legal or regulatory challenges that do you see in deploying AI systems in like healthcare, like in cervical cancer screening or like in breast cancer screening, especially in balancing innovation with patients' rights, like informed consent or anything like that. Do you have any input on that?
Yeah, because it's interfering.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes. So thanks everybody for joining, and thanks for inviting me. I'm, as Anastasia mentioned, I'm a professor of AI and health. So basically what I'm doing is the development of AI technology for different health challenge, and I usually focus on medical imaging, so trying to analyze different type of medical imaging for the detection, diagnosis, treatment of different type of diseases like oncology, for example, but also in intensive care for monitoring patients, in ophthalmology for checking the eyes, and other modalities. So I have been working a lot on AI, more in the methodological part, and definitely you are seeing many things that is happening there, and how the development increased a lot in the last year, with many multiple type of models, but also multiple type of models addressing different tasks. And definitely this is an opportunity, I think, in healthcare, especially to be a bit more efficient and effective in treatment of the diseases, but also for a way that we can reach out to communities that maybe in which healthcare can be a bit more limited. But one of the things that I see as a limitation, because you asked about it, about the legal challenges that we encounter, especially with this, maybe in this context, but maybe also in other contexts of diseases in developing countries, is that we develop, at least in my group, we develop the methods here with data that is mostly collected here, and that we have access to maybe protocols or clinical workflows that are from these countries, and then later when you have to deploy it maybe in other countries, there is a mismatch. And that causes a lot of problems, first in the deployment per se, because it's not adapted to that, but also in the type of data that you are looking at. It's a different population, different prevalence, different collection of data, and also different variability of the protocols that are available. So although you regulate your model here and your product here, we can say once you deploy in a different place, you are, of course, limited by the laws and regulations that are in that place. So for us, it's a big problem. If you don't develop together with them, it's a big problem how to overcome that mismatch.
Yes. I think that we can have the presentation of the author.
Stop sharing.
Perfect. Sorry for this. But we can have, I have many follow-up questions. Can you hear us? And then we don't have the offer, and then we continue the discussion. Can you hear us? Yeah, we could hear her, but I don't know, probably it's... Yeah, I was thinking of the internet connection, but I don't know, it might be. But okay, just give me a signal if we have her again, and thank you so much. Yeah, based on what you said, I wanted also to ask you, because in my research, I found out that actually one of the reasons why we have gender bias, why these AI systems cannot they are not accurate in the same level for some groups of patients, like marginalized patients, like LGBTQI+ patients. And I think that one of the reasons for this is probably the data sets that based on which these systems are trained. So I was wondering, can you see any other gender dimension of why these systems do not work for all the patients? You explained that one reason is that that we have different populations, but besides the population, can we dig deeper into that? Is about gender, is about race, is about why the system cannot work?
Yeah, we see different things, and that can be caused for many reasons. But one of the things, data is basically permeable in the sense that it permeates social values. Mm-hmm. So everything that it's kind of there, and it's not just because we are using these models usually need a lot of data. We are not using just a small data set, but we are also using, we can say, historical data sets. So it's permeating all the social values that were already there. So what we see is imbalance in some type of groups, For example, if we are talking about groups like women with this type of disease or maybe this type of genetic disorder or condition, we see a limitation of that in the data sets that we have. We don't see them, or it's very limited, so therefore the models are biased towards the other more group that is there. It can be also because of race. There are some traits that you can see in the images that are representative for those ones, that then when you apply these models to those images that they are not trained with, then there are errors that they are also there. Or it can be just because they are socially, they have less limited access to this type of scan or image or protocol, that they basically is just not there. So, but it can be for many reasons. But what we see basically is that it's like there are no enough data to understand how to model that special group, and in that sense we are generalizing to other type of groups on those smaller groups.
So we could say that one of the main issues is the lack of data, or like that represent also other groups of people, if I understood correctly. Okay, thank you so much, because this is super important. And I was wondering, like in light of your work on AI and health, how can interdisciplinary collaboration, like including feminist scholarship, I don't know, like you can share like a bit more about how the lab that you direct works on, but can you see that we can have like an interdisciplinary collaboration that can solve these issues? And can you see that actually feminist scholarship can contribute towards a solution, for instance?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for example, I have two examples. We have one project that we are working on decision making in healthcare. And there is multidisciplinary in the sense that we have a scientific group in the Faculty of Science, a clinical group in the Amsterdam Medical Center, but we also have law students that are also working there, as well as ethical students that are working there. And we just work together, so we discuss every time that we are developing something, we work together on the different aspects. And that helps already, because we can identify problems with, for example, in data, how data is collected, how data is even reported, and how data is accessible for others, but also in how some laws are not covering the AI development for this kind, we can say, of limited groups. So that would be one example. Other example we have is also in the ICAI labs, where all the labs have someone that is more in the social, ethical aspect of the development. So it controls a bit what everything is being done in the group, that it is following, we can say, all the ethical AI disciplines and solutions that are being covered there. So I think that is very important in this, if we are developing something that is for others, that we understand the different dimensions that it will cover. From the feminist part of it, like having more more diverse groups, I think is also important in the sense that we can, we can say, we can identify more challenges. We can identify things that when we develop a solution, we focus on the technology, but it has to be deployed. So maybe it's a way also to say, well, this is never going to be deployed, this is never going to be adopted because of these reasons. But it can be also a way to address or to get in contact to other groups. We work now with group in Asia, but we also in South Africa, where we try to really understand how things are being done there. And although we would like to have the best image, the best solution, sometimes it's not possible, and we have to rethink how we are going to solve the problem for those kind of sites.
Also different needs, but I got a signal that we can have the author of the book. Can you hear us? Hello? Hello? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? I think we are muted. I think we are muted. Hello? Finally.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
here.
we did it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, our apologies for this.
Fine.
Yeah, but we are very happy that we have you today. Just for the introduction, I would like to introduce you and to the audience, and then you can start with your presentation. We have
I can, just a minute. I can
Yes.
see only two participants here. Is it so?
Yes, we are just the two of us, and there are also some people from the audience.
So I am not able to see the audience, right?
Never mind, never mind. The most important thing is that you can hear us. Can you hear
Yeah,
us?
yeah. I
Okay,
can,
great.
yeah,
Great.
yeah. I can hear you. Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
yeah.
So, Professor Sezal Sha is a distinguished researcher and educator specializing in cancer genomics, bioinformatics, and biotechnology. She is currently head and associate professor of the Department of Bioinformatics at Marwandi University in India. In addition to her academic work, she practices as a cancer geneticist at several multi-specialty hospitals in India. So the floor is yours, Professor. You have 15 minutes for the presentation, or like 20 minutes for the presentation, and then we can have a discussion all together.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm really grateful for providing me such an international platform where I can discuss my book with you all. So, can I share my presentation? Let me share it.
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Yeah, okay. So, a very good morning to all of you. So, this is Dr. Sejal Shah and presenting you discussing you about my book regarding cervical cancer detection using artificial intelligence and machine learning. So, first, we should know what is the cervical cancer. This is the cancer which develops in a woman's cervix, exactly the entrance of the uterus in the vagina. And almost all cervical cancers, 99% are linked with the HPV virus, that is human papilloma viruses. That it is the extremely common virus transmitted through the sexual contacts. Although most infections with HPV resolve spontaneously, during the lifetime of the man, you may get several HPV infections, but body has such a beautiful immune system that can resolve itself. But some of the HPV strains, just like COVID, COVID has multiple strains like Omicron and Delta. So just like COVID, HPV has some serious concern of strains, that is HPV 16, 18, 33. If you will get the infection, so it may uh, convert into the carcinoma and it may develop the cervical cancer. It is the fourth most common cancer in globally, we can say. And if we talk about India, we have the second largest cancer, that is the cervical cancer. The effective primarily HPV vaccination and secondary prevention approaches and treating precancerous lesion will prevent most cervical cancers. When it is diagnosed, cervical cancer is one of the most successful treatable form. The lowest mortality, we can say, if we can diagnose it early stage and with a comprehensive approach to prevent, screen, and treat, cervical cancer may be eliminated as a public health problem within a generation. So there is a strong need to diagnose cervical cancer at early stage. This is the need of the hour. So now you can see here the normal healthy cervix, and when it grows, it converted into the carcinoma. You can see the cancer tissues and the cancer spread outside the cervix as well. So different stages are there, from in situ to advanced stages of cancer. So now our goal is to how we can detect it at in situ stage or very preliminary stage. Now human papilloma virus is genotypes. So as I said, number of strains are there for HPV. Here 12 strains I have demonstrated: HPV 11, 6, 59, 58, 52, 45, 39, 35, 33, 31, 18, and 16. Where 16 and 18 is a more prevalent. Even HPV uh, 35 is more prevalent. HPV 6 is more prevalent. So, based on the prevalence of the HPV strain, the vaccine has been designed. But we know the genetic race is different. So, based on the ethnicity, we need to design a vaccine. Now, what actually the role of the AI? The role of the AI, artificial intelligence, it stimulates human intelligence for tasks like visual perception, making, and language processing. The key components are machine learning, deep learning, and natural language processing and robotics. We have various applications of AI in healthcare like diagnosis, prognosis, personalized treatment, drug discovery, and patient monitoring. AI improves early detection and diagnosis by analyzing medical images and identifying biomarkers. It driven tools reduce reliance on human expertise and minimize the error. Especially mobile health solutions extend screening services to understand the specific region. Now, how AI will solve all these things together? So different AI techniques are there in the cancer detections. First, that is the early detection and screening. It analyzes the mammograms, especially in the case of breast cancer, CT scans and MRI for different types of cancers, and it will identify the specific abnormalities. Image analysis, it evaluates histopathologically slides, HNE staining slides in our language, radiology images for cancerous tissue, genetic and molecular analysis. So genetics, the DNA is different, it varies person to person. So patient to patient, it varies. So we should have the genetic data and molecular analysis. So artificial intelligence identifies the mutations, biomarkers. Biomarkers, it means certain proteins required to stop the cancer or to grow the cancer. So that is the biomarkers, the genetic biomarkers, protein biomarkers for personalized treatment. Why I am saying personalized treatment? Because as I said, the genetic profile varies person to person. The clinicians or the doctors will be described you the specific drug based on the specific your DNA, your protein. So it will be personalized. That's why it's called the precision medicine or personalized treatment. Integration with the electronic health records. Artificial intelligence analyzes patient data for early cancer detection. How we can diagnose cervical cancer using the artificial intelligence? So it detects precancerous and cancerous lesions with high precision. Sometimes what happened, clinicians, they are not yet they are not confirmed whether the lesions are precancerous or cancerous. There is a very light line between cancerous and precancerous lesion. So if we can train the machine learning models in such a way that it can detect exactly perfect precancerous and cancerous lesions. Colposcopy assistance. Colposcopy is a tool where uh, suspicious areas for biopsy during cervix examination can be identified. It means in your vagina, if your vagina is not healthy or cervix is not healthy, if there are some cancerous lesions, so colposcopy will guide us that specific position to highlight the biopsy region. Computer-aided diagnosis also provides the valuable second opinions for medical image interpretation. Uh, Yes, artificial intelligence also predicts cervical cancer risk based on clinical and genetic data. So, clinicopathological characteristics are they are we can use this data like age, sex, tobacco history, some etiological factor, HPV, genetics. So, these are the some input data we should use, and we can calculate whether this person is on risk to develop cervical cancer or not. Even it can predict or it can forecast disease progression and recurrence with high accuracy. Mobile health, it will give the powered app, enables self-assessment in remote areas, especially in rural areas. So various stages of cervical cancer detection. First stage, that is the screening. It prioritizes high-risk cases for immediate attention, followed by histopathological analysis. So when you take the biopsy or when you take the pap smear test, so it will detect cellular irregularities in biopsy samples. It means you have a normal cell different pattern and the cancerous cell have the different pattern. So it will automatically identify because nucleus to cytoplasmic ratio is changed. So the machine will be trained that this is the cancerous cell, this is not the normal cell. Prognosis and risk analysis. It predicts disease progression and recurrence. Treatment planning and response monitoring, follow up of the patient. That is the most crucial stage. And clinical decision support. It provides evidence based recommendation to the clinicians. When we go for the pap smear image analysis, it identifies the abnormal cells in pap smear images. HPV DNA testing. It detects high risk HPV types faster and more accurately. So, as far as I know, females, they are not generally, they won't see to the doctors, and when clinicians they advise them that you should go for the HPV screening, because once you get the HPV negative, once get negative test from HPV, next 5 years you will be uh, free of any worries that you don't, now you are not going to develop the cervical cancer. So that is the HPV screening is the necessary, but uh, due to cost and due to certain parameters, females they are not comfortable to go for the HPV DNA testing. So if we have the data, we can directly go for the high risk HPV analysis. Digital colposcopy. AI highlights suspicious areas for biopsy during colposcopy. Histopathological analysis, the slides, the images, it can identify whether it is a precancerous or cancerous changes. Risk prediction, automated visual evaluation, and integration with electronic health records. So overdue for screening, sometimes a artificial intelligence it flags patients overdue for screenings. Pap smear, how pap smear image analysis. Pap smear, that is the very crucial part. Whenever female feels that there is abnormality in vagina, excessive bleeding, or some discomfort in vagina, so the first test will be done by the gynecologist, that is the pap smear test. So where the samples from the cervix, from the vagina, a very tiny samples, epithelial cells will be taken with the fluid, and they will see under the microscope, and we will get the specific images whether it is a cancerous cells or non-cancerous cells. So deep learning models analyzes pap smear images for abnormal cells, and the advantage is it improves accuracy and consistency, reduce the human error, because many times we have seen, that's why we generally tell women that you should go for pap smear test at multiple pathological laboratories, just because we have encountered some human error. So AI, obviously, it will improve it, and it requires large annotated data sets for the training. Now, HPV DNA testing, it is costly, first thing. And when you go for the 12 strain testing, generally in India, what we suggest at least you should go for HPV 16 and 18 screening. It is economic, but I have myself done for 12th, all the 12 strain screening for HPV. So when you go for that, it is costly. So females avoiding such type of testing due to cost. So if we have the machine learning models where we have the data, so it analyzes genetic sequences to detect high risk HPV types, and it is a faster and more objective detection of HPV infections. The challenge is distinguishing transient infection from those likely to lead cancer. Some of the strain, they are not actually part of the cancer development. So that might be the challenge. Digital colposcopy, it analyzes high resolution colposcopy images to identify abnormal tissue, and it enhances the diagnostic accuracy and reduces unnecessarily biopsies. Yes. One more thing I would like to convey over here, being a clinician, that biopsies, whenever we ask patient to take biopsies, it's a tedious process, it's a painful process. And if we have some models, some mobile applications where we should not go for the biopsy and directly we can come up with the results. So it will be great. So that is the main thing why we are looking for the artificial intelligence based detection. The challenges is ensuring high accuracy across diverse clinical settings. And one more thing is colposcopy is quite expensive instrument, so not each and every hospital settings they are having. Histopathological image analysis. This process is it is taking 24 hours, and H&E staining they are doing. Again, they need biopsies. So AI analyzes biopsy slides to identify cellular and tissue abnormalities. It improves the diagnostic precision and reduce analysis time. So immediate you can get the result. Requires diverse training data and consistent slide quality. So here the histopathological images you require, that is the quality should be there. Then only we can go ahead. Risk prediction models, it integrates genetic, lifestyle, and clinical data to predict cancer risk. So you have all the clinical pathological characteristics, then only you can say whether XYZ person is uh, mm, he or she sorry, she will be developing cervical cancer or not. It enables personalized screening and preventive measures, and it requires high quality data and addresses privacy concerns. Automated visual evaluation analyzes cervical images to detect precancerous changes. Immediate results you will get, and it will be useful in low resource settings as well. The main challenge is the handling variations in image quality and patient demographics. So let's talk about the EHR. It will analyzes patient data in EHR to identify undiagnosed cases or overdue screening. As or we can say, though you have electronic health records, sometimes undiagnosed cases and overdue screenings will be there, and it improves the screening rates and early detection. Challenges are navigating data privacy and seamless integration with healthcare IT systems. How AI model for pap smear image classification will work. So first you should have the synthetic data, and we can use them to train machine learning classifiers model. We have done it using the random forest and all these things, and we got 85.1% accuracy, and for test 81.8% accuracy. So, histopathological images will tell you normal cervical tissue has a well-organized structure, as I said earlier, and cancerous tissue shows dysplasia. Dysplasia means the very early stage of cervical cancer, irregular nucleus size and loss of the structure. Then progression. So, disease will be progress from mild dysplasia to moderate dysplasia to severe dysplasia or carcinoma in situ. Some challenges in manual histopathology is there just as I said, that it will take a longer time. And in the morning, if one pathologist is doing the specific parameter, next day another pathologist, or in the evening another pathologist will notify you the result. So there might be some constraints regarding the manual histopathology. Uh, AI assisted analysis, it components human expertise by automating routine tasks, and it reduces diagnostic errors and speed up the process. ML requires structured data, DL automatically extracts features from raw data, and CNN are highly effective for image processing tasks like tumor detection. Glass slides are converted into digital analysis for AI analysis. Whole slide imaging enables detailed examination of tissue samples. Convolutional neural networks, specific techniques in histopathology, CNN, feature extraction, whole slide image analysis, and segmentation. These are the techniques where your wet lab can be converted into the dry lab. Wet lab means what we are doing into the laboratory. There is no need to do all this stuff. If you have the data, you can directly jump to the data and you can get your accuracy. Different applications are there for artificial intelligence in detection or diagnosis of cervical cancer. Automated detection of dysplasia and neoplasia. It distinguishes between different stages of cervical cancer, and that is most needed. As what happened, see, there is no point to diagnose cervical cancer at last stage. Yes, there might be the progression, or some therapeutic or prognosis might be good or for the betterment of cancer patient, but if we can detect at early stage, uh, there is a strong need to detect at early stage if we can do it. Grading and staging. AI assesses tumor aggressiveness and determines the grade and stage. Predictive modeling, it predicts recurrence risk. So only one point is, if you are HPV positive, then recurrence will be there. If you are HPV negative, then recurrence will not be there. So the common suggestion is continuously each after 5 years, every 5 years you need to go for the HPV analysis. Biomarker detection, it identifies molecular biomarkers for targeted therapy.
I'm sorry.
Advantages of,
I'm sorry, I
yes.
don't want to interrupt you, but if you could summarize in 2 or 3 minutes the rest of the presentation, that would be lovely in order to have
Yeah, yeah,
some
yeah, yeah,
time for
yeah, 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 yeah,
discussion.
yeah.
Thank you.
So basically, advantages of AI in histopathology is there, and some challenges and limitations are also there. So, what are the challenges and limitations? That you should have the proper data for proper region. Means if you are residing in Europe, you should have the European data. If you are residing in America, you should have American data. So data quality, availability, biases in AI models, interpretability, regulatory and ethical challenges are there. So what we suggest, that some algorithm should be improved, and explainable AI model. It enhance the transparency and interpretability of AI models. We have our case study which shows the 95.1% accuracy with 73% accuracy. And in nutshell, AI is the transforming cervical cancer diagnosis through histopathology. It enhances accuracy, efficacy, and accessibility, especially in low resource settings. And future advancement in uh, multi-omics integration with explainable AIs must be there. AI holds immense potential to reduce the global burden of cervical cancer. Thank you so much, and I am open for the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A big applause for the presentation. Thank you. I have a follow-up question. I was wondering how your book addresses the challenge of ensuring diagnostic accuracy across diverse populations, particularly for women from underrepresented or marginalized background. Could you elaborate on what measures, technical, legal, I don't know what recommendations do you have, can be taken to mitigate gender and intersectional bias in the training data models used for cervical cancer detection?
Okay. So first thing is, if we believe in three L's. Three L's means lack of awareness, lack of screening, and lack of vaccination, right? So we need to make aware females to go for the HPV DNA testing and to go for the histopathological analysis. Why? If they go for the screening or for the image or for some mammograms or histopathological analysis, then only we can have the data. So screening, awareness, and one last thing is vaccination. If we have 100% vaccination, definitely we will be free from cervical cancer. So if we talk about the diversity, so we are staying in India. So in India also we have different regions: North India, South India, West India, and Eastern India. So here we have race-wise data because genetics is different for each race. So when we have the data, so quality of the data should be there and the larger data set will be there. So then only we can justify the diversity over here specifically. And once all the leaders, all the healthcare workers, they make aware to all the females about the screening, we can get the data. And if we can get the data, or if they go for the screening and they found they are HPV negative or positive, then it will be fine. We can push them for the vaccination. So likewise, we can do, this is the cumulative effort, right?
And I have another follow-up question for both of you, because this is also linked to the discussion that we had earlier, and sorry for the interruption. I was wondering, like, if you have any recommendations about what feminist values can be somehow reflected, embedded in these systems in order to improve women's access to health and access, like, to early detection and prevention of cancer.
So if you see what happens sometimes, I have seen, being a clinician, I have seen that females, they are not ready to go to see the doctors, right? So when for the normal, though they are pregnant, they are not comfortable to see the doctor in rural areas. So the first step will be, uh, we have to identify the specific uh, community and specific female leaders to go and to get the mm, we can say screened. Then only we can we can move ahead for this problem what you are saying, if I understood rightly.
I think awareness is one of the problems that are, I mean, for access to healthcare is one of the main problems that
Yes,
it's very difficult for them to know that this is in place, that they should go there. So I think that one of the things that it needs to be
because once
accomplished.
if you are not get the real time data, AI model will not work. AI model work on the data, right? So unless and until you should have the data, for that we need to work hard. Each and every female need to work hard that we can get the real time data from the clinicians. And clinicians and scientists, they need to join the hands because they will give you the data. Though I am a scientist and clinician, both I can have access the data, but some researchers, they don't have access the data. So how we can develop the AI model or machine learning models? It won't work if we don't have the regional data. Diversity is there, so we should have the regional data.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree that it's also difficult to to get access maybe to the proper data that is not biased already towards some
True.
populations or some
Yes.
cohorts, and that's also very difficult. But also the evaluation of those models need to be done also with the, we can say, the patient in mind. And one thing that it can be done also is when we develop these algorithms is also there are a number of stakeholders. I mean, it's of course the main ones. It's the doctor, it can be also the developer and so, but there are many others, and one of them that is key is the patient. So involving women into the development of these kind of solutions can help also on helping develop systems that are less biased, that are more targeted to them, but also that understand how this can be deployed in better conditions that they are not being done now.
Sorry, I wanted to introduce you the reviewer, who is like Professor Clarissa Sanchez Gutierrez. Professor Clarissa spoke before, because I'm not sure if you can see us.
No, I'm not able to see.
I got this. That's why I wanted to clarify. I have a follow-up, and thank you both for your feedback. I have another follow-up question regarding like the feminist values. Do you see that, do you believe or do you think that one of the main reasons why women do not have access to healthcare is because there is a lack of funding or like a lack of funding for these projects? So like, do you have any reflections on this? Please, Professor Clarissa, you can go first, and then Professor Cesar can go next.
Well, I think that in the, I mean, if you measure the temperature that is happening now in the world, you can see that there are funding that are being reduced, especially for diversity and for inclusion of different subgroups. And women is one of them, especially in maybe disease that they think that it has been eradicated, but they are still a big problem in developing countries. So yes, there is a problem about funding, about awareness of these diseases, and also about the implications that these diseases can have in society. So I think that definitely we can really have to raise our voice in the sense that this has to change, because if not, then right now many of these studies are being limited, and in the future maybe even more. And we are talking a big part of society, and diseases that they are like not only rare, but they are very prevalent in some areas that need to be addressed.
Professor Cesar?
Hello?
Yes? Can you hear us?
Yes, please.
Okay.
There is some issue.
I would like to repeat the question because I addressed this
Yes.
question to both of you. Like, I was wondering if you have any reflections on the fact that there is a lack of funding of these projects, and probably this is one of the reasons why women do not have the proper access to healthcare. Do you believe that lack of funding for these projects?
Yes, sure, sure. So, first of all the cancers, we need research fund for the not for the cervical cancer, for all the cancer, but specifically if we talk about the cervical cancer, yes, because see, when we go for the screening, we need to first go for the pap smear, that is costly. Colposcopy images, that is too costly. HPV DNA testing, that is too costly. So when we go for the research as well, next generation sequencing and all these things, it it takes too much money, and due to the lack of funding, even if I can go for the 1,000 patients for my research purpose, it will cost huge, right? So, and 1,000 patients data won't work if you really develop some machine learning model. So you need to have some 5,000, minimum 5,000 to 10,000 data sets. So funding make difference, especially in case of cancer samples. First thing is to get a cancer sample, that is a big issue from the clinicians. And if you get this cancer sample to process, downstream processing, it takes lot of money, it takes lot of time. So funding is required, and everywhere the funding is the main problem.
I don't know if anyone from the audience has a question. I don't know if you have any question to the author, or like the opposite. I don't know if you have any further reflections.
Yeah, I have a question for the author. And I would like to know, because one thing, I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, there is a problem about accessibility to this data because it's very limited and maybe it's regional. And if you want to create a solution that can be implemented in many different settings, you will need to generalize or make it a bit more global. Are there initiatives that help sharing this data to the community to develop these solutions? And what are the challenges that you see about collecting this data and sharing it regarding privacy and regarding regulatory issues?
So, first thing, what we can take it as a government has some strong compulsion, and the policies should be there that each and every female should must go for the pap smear analysis and HPV DNA testing at every 5 years, and it should be free of cost from government or some uh, some committees or some NGOs, if they can take up this as a challenge, then only we can vanish the cervical cancer from the earth. Because it is a biggest issue nowadays that due to more than one sexual partners, everywhere you can find the HPV infections. So if we want to come up with the cervical cancer free population, then we females should take an initiative first. As I go, the lack of awareness, we should make aware to each and every female. Not a single seminar or workshop or conference will work, it should be consistent. And we have to take a lead. We need to create more leaders for cervical cancer awareness program. And then how we can see it spreads, and then if compulsion comes from the government, and the test would be free of cost, then definitely uh, we can be free of cervical cancer. And yes, first more thing is we can get the data what we want, right?
Very much. I have one last question, like, because we have only 3 minutes left, like, if you can reply. I am addressing this question to both of you, the author and the reviewer. Like, I was wondering, like, from a feminist standpoint, what are the ethical or legal considerations that should guide the deployment of AI in women's health, especially to prevent reinforcing systemic biases and promote equitable healthcare outcomes? For instance, like from a legal point of view, probably like I stress more like accountability or like oversight mechanisms. What are your reflections on this?
So first ethical concern is you cannot use AI, and you never replace human. You never ever think to replace clinicians or doctors. But yes, sometimes false positive results are there, and sometimes doctors and clinicians, they are in dilemma whether this is a cancerous lesion or precancerous lesion. At that time, AI can be used at a confirmatory test, right? We can't rely only on AI, but yes, it will help clinicians to take decision, and it will expedite the process. So the images, the patho images, what we are getting after 2 days or 3 days, yes, we can detect it at early stage, but the final decision should be from the clinicians. So there are some ethical concerns.
Thank you. And Professor Clarissa?
Yeah, I think, well, the first thing I think is transparency. I think these models need to be transparent, how they have been trained, what are the outputs, how they are based on. Also to understand if there are some bias or to identify some bias there. One thing that you said also is the surveillance of these methods. I think that it's important to monitor after deployment that these methods are, because we test them as much as we can, but they are always limited. So we need to really see and monitor how the performance it is. And if we can find, we can say some bias on the fly. I think that that's important because you can identify later when things are changing, populations are changing and so on. And I think it's important, I mean, of course, to mitigate bias. So we have to also try to have access to data that try to reduce this bias by collecting it in a more diverse way, in a more thinking where we are going to develop. But that's going to be some limitations, of course, in the legal and ethical because of data privacy. And I think that needs to be also regulated. I think right now there is a lack of regulation also of that because it's very limited, the knowledge that we have about it. So it needs to be also done on the fly. At the end, healthcare is for everyone and it should be accessible for everyone. So we have to try to make it as soon as possible accessible for everyone.
I agree, and in terms of regulation, like for instance, we have GDPR and the AI Act, but today, like the European Commission is going to vote for the simplification of these regulations, and we don't know what we are going to expect by the end of the day. So thank you, honestly, both of you for taking the time and share your work. A big thank you to the audience for taking the time and join us today. And also many thanks to the technicians who helped us today to solve any problem. Without them, we couldn't make it. And looking forward to seeing you tomorrow in the next Feminist Book Club. Take care and
Thank you
enjoy
so much.
CPDP. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a nice time. Bye-bye.